go live anyways.
I got the live notification.
Yeah. All right. Well, we are live.
Awesome.
Welcome, everyone. And thank you, TJ, for agreeing to participate in this Facebook Live with me. And today we're going to talk about the importance of life purpose, discovering of life purpose for a man, what that means, and how is it important for a man to create relationship and romantic relationship and in general relationship with people. And we're also going to talk about sexual polarity, what that is, and how to navigate it in order to have thriving, beautiful relationship and also attract a partner. So TJ is a member of this group, which I'm so happy about because TJ has contributed so much to sharing his wisdom as a coach for men and as a writer. TJ just recently published. I'm not really sure you will say.
Wrote, almost published, wrote. It's finished. So
yeah, so you will tell us about your creation a little more. And so I believe that is TJ's work, life purpose, and sexual polarity, and that's what we're going to dive deeper into. And I will share my own take, and yeah, and we're just gonna hear from you guys. If you have any questions, please post them in the comments. We will periodically will check in and try to respond.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me. And this is, I love talking about these topics. It's certainly rooted in my life purpose work. And it's been my path. You know, I was married for 13 years and got a divorce. You know, my path has a bunch of things that were rooted in life purpose. And when I was younger, I didn't really realize it until I discovered my life purpose. Mm-hmm. So many good things. Took a vision quest, which is good with a number of things. And we can talk about that as well. So I do coaching. I don't coach a lot of, I'm a men's coach. So I don't do a lot of coaching. I do an interview process. So it's not just, I don't coach to coach. Like I want to make sure that the intentions and integrity are aligned with myself and the client, and that they're willing and ready to do the work. So, yeah, we can start with life purpose and go wherever you want to go. So.
Sure. So what is life purpose? Why is it so important for men to have life purpose figured out?
The reason that, well, first of all, life purpose is the mission that we were born to do. It's why we were born, and what we must accomplish or heal or liberate others in a service. And so the reason that I believe it's so important for men to have their life purpose is it is who they are. It's okay. Who am I? What do I want? And where am I going? And when a man discovers his life purpose, it is generally the starting point where he's turning that outward validation into an inward validation. He is, he's on a mission. He knows what he's here to accomplish, and he identifies with that mission. And so one of the benefits of knowing life purpose for a man is that, look, women are very advanced these days, and advanced is probably not the right word to use, but they're on their own path of self-discovery and accomplishing their own goals and their own missions. So, you know, they really don't need men like they once did 20, 30 years ago. So if a man has his life purpose, not only is he less likely to be needy with her energy and looking for him or her to validate him, but now
Mm.
he has the ability he has a tendency to be able to offer himself a responsible leadership. And so
Mhm.
that can be the difference between, um, that can be the difference that makes the intimacy more polarized. Because
Yeah.
look, she doesn't need him to do things for her. She can do all those things herself. But if he can offer himself responsible leadership, not just with his life purpose, then he has that ability to offer that to her. And so often I hear men and women complaining about how women may be making more money in the relationship, or they're the breadwinner. And that tends to neutralize the sexual polarity between a couple,
Mhm.
because it's often that, you know, the man is supposed to be the breadwinner. And so now when these balances are off by the old world way of things used to be, you know, if a man has that life purpose and he lives by that life purpose, he has that leadership piece that he may
Mhm.
not if he doesn't have life purpose. Often, too, when a man has his life purpose and he's single, I tell the men that I work with that are single, if you have your life purpose, discuss that on the first couple of dates, because you're naturally going to be
Mhm.
um, passionate and driven and excited and glowing, and you're going to be attractive to her because she's going to recognize that you have a mission, you have a purpose.
Mm.
And so, you know, and he can even have conversations with her about what hers is. And if she identifies with his life purpose and he identifies with her life purpose, well, I mean, geez, that it's the couple that everybody's jealous of, quite honestly.
Yeah.
So life purpose, that's generally, you know, that is the main draw, I think, for why or one of the main reasons why life purpose is so important for a man. I often call it, well, I always call it the path back to his masculinity.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Thank you for sharing this. And I, as a woman, I can definitely speak to that. That I, like, a lot of people say, like, oh, women are just like looking for wealthy man. And it's like, no, it's not about that. It's about we're looking for men who are taking responsibility for their lives and creating something in their lives that um, has a tremendous value, not only for himself, but for his woman, for his family, and for the community, and for the world. And that is so freaking sexy and respectful. And when he is like, even in the beginning of his path, and he is extremely vocal about it and shares about it, and but not only shares, but he also does things where he doesn't he's like he's on a mission. He's like he has this definitive purpose, like they say in
mm-hmm.
Outwitting the Devil. He sacrifices his time, spending time with her for the sake of, you know, connecting to his mission, for his purpose. And some women might not understand that, and they will be like, oh, needy, and like wanting his attention at all times. And it, that can be a challenge for a man.
It can be, but there's gold there, because when a man has his life purpose, and this question comes up for me quite often, like because the message out there from a lot of my teachers is a man should always have his mission first and then his woman. And for as a masculine sexual essence person, aka man. We'll get into that later with sexual polarity and sexual essence. But um, the as a masculine sexual essence person, I like things to be black and white. So it's either black or white, and there's hardly any gray area. So this is where kind of men go wrong with this, and they well, I got to put my mission ahead of my woman, and not really. If you have the right woman with you, you can separate the time pretty effectively. So if I this is where I introduce my life purpose schedule or calendar. So if
Mhm.
I can schedule blocks of time for, you know, play or gym work or, you know, just the different parts of my life, but have a bulk of that for my life purpose work, then I can be devoted and focused, which is one of the qualities of the masculine, is to be all in with one thing. It's hard for us to do
Mhm.
two or three things at one time. If we do, things usually fall apart. But when we have that schedule, I can work on my life purpose, and then I can tell her, and you know, don't take this the wrong way where like I've got to schedule time for my woman. It's not about that. It's so that he can be all in when he's with the time, when he's sharing the time with
Mhm.
her. And he can say,
Mhm.
okay, I can turn my cell phone off from 6 to 7, or sweetheart, like right now I'm in the middle of something, but I promise you, give me 30 more minutes. I'll put this all away and we'll go take a nice walk. And I can be devoted and centered around our time together.
Mhm.
So when a man is serving his life purpose and
Yeah.
he's doing those things to serve his life purpose, women will naturally be around him because they're gonna be wanting or doing the same things around that purpose. And so it will no longer be like there's a scarcity mindset of women. That scarcity mindset
Mhm.
turns to an abundant mindset because you're attracting not only women, but the right people to your path through your life purpose mission, through your life purpose work. And if a woman crosses a man's path while he's doing that and she resonates with his life purpose, he doesn't have to worry about what to say or what he's wearing or any of that stuff. It just comes authentically and naturally.
Yeah, while you were speaking, I had this thought that um, the reason why women perhaps nag for attention, because they want to make sure that the life purpose that the man, vocalized that he is after is exactly that.
Yeah.
Because after a couple of times, she sees that he kind of like succumbed to her when she was nagging him to be with her. She will be like, okay, he's not serious about his life purpose.
Well, she'll
Like,
feel it. She
yeah.
feels that in her nervous system. Like this all ties in together with masculine and feminine essences, sexual essences, and sexual polarity. This
Mhm.
this whole life purpose thing is the foundation of it for a man. And the feminine feels absolutely everything. David Data says, the feminine is the genius of energy, and the
Mhm.
masculine is genius of focus and consciousness. So the the one of the values that she brings to the table when you talk about nagging is she knows the potential of her man. She knows the best version of her man. And anytime he's being less than that, she's going to give him feedback on that. And a lot of men will take that personal. They won't look at it as value from her. They'll take it like she's always nagging or I can never make this woman happy. If a man would take 1 second and recognize that that's just part of her value, that's her natural gift being in relationship with you, and instead of retreating or taking it personally, like, wait a minute, okay, this woman knows the best that I can be. She knows my potential. So if I try this on for a second, if I introspect about what she's delivering, then then maybe I can that will allow me to hold the space, to create the container for those emotions to flow, take in that information that she's trying to deliver about where you're going unconscious with either your life purpose or the relationship that you two have. And then things change. It's like, oh, you know, that's interesting that she says that. And where else is that showing up in my life? And then when he recognizes that, he'll no longer have the tendency to take off like, oh shit, I'm out of here. She's getting bitchy again. Right. It's like let's stop for a second and just allow her that space and see what comes out of it. And
This is great. Question for you. For people who have not read David Data, who is not familiar with any of the, reflective, conscious work that you and I have been doing, or, I hope the majority of people in this group, but I also know that some people are just completely not in it. Like, how do they navigate all of that?
well, a lot of David Data talks, the downloadable, recordable sessions that you used to be able to purchase on his website. I would just listen to those a lot, and it would start to create those neural pathways and really taking in the language of what we're talking about here. Because if you're not careful, a lot of people, if you're not careful with the language, and if a person doesn't speak your language, then it's likely to be confused, or not likely, it will be confused. And then a person will often be like, nope, that's masculine, feminine, like that's so cliche, I heard that before. But reading, like not only listening to that, but reading. And there's so many great mentors and coaches. David Data was really the starting point for me. A lot of men, and I don't know about women, but a lot of men, I'm sure there are women, but have become coaches or mentors from his work, and they offer a great bandwidth of and depth of more wisdom coming from that. So John Weiland is one man that worked with David Data. Justin Patrick Pierce, I think is his name. He's another. I mean, but it's taking it's working with a coach, working with a mentor, and allowing yourself space to maybe fuck it up every once in a while. Like, I'm going to make a mistake, and that's okay because I'm learning. And give yourself time to take in the information. It doesn't happen overnight, but in my experience, when a man gets it, like when he's like, oh, holy cow, it's like it all starts to click. And understanding that masculine and feminine, whether we're talking about the universal masculine and feminine, or we're talking about a masculine and feminine sexual essence person, like it all intermingles. This, in my opinion, this masculine and feminine is the physics of our universe. It's the yin and the yang, right? It's that polarity piece. And the biggest gift for understanding masculine and feminine characteristics, virtues, essences, is there's this new opening of not only acceptance for somebody else and the nature that they are and the gifts that they deliver and bring to an intimacy, but more importantly, a bandwidth of self-acceptance for ourselves. Like, if I know my tendency is to always fix stuff, or always want to look for solutions, that does a lot for understanding why I do some of the things I do, especially in relationship with a woman. And on top of that, so just like I was talking about before, about giving her the space to emote, because that's one of her values and gifts. Like, it brings this incredible potential for the relationship where we can co-create a fulfilling and satiating, intimate relationship. And we can be cognizant of how to create sexual polarity with our nature, with our natural gifts. And we don't want to create sexual polarity in a professional or recreational aspect of our life, right? Like, we don't go into work and be like, okay, today's about sexual polarity and I'm going to offer my masculine core so that I can, I mean, it could be, but you're likely to get in trouble, right? But we can accept each other for who we are. We can receive each other for who we are. And if we want to hit those masculine to feminine poles in an effort to create sexual polarity, then we can do that. And sexual polarity isn't everything. Like, there's three main ingredients to a powerful, fulfilling, satiating romantic relationship. And as far as I can tell, it's sexual polarity, romance, and love. And if you have sexual polarity, the romance and love, it's almost as if, well, not almost, in my experience, when I have sexual polarity in my intimate relationship, there is an effortless motivation to show up and be present with my partner. And romance and love naturally like grows out of that. So, I've got that effortless motivation to be there and show up and be present to her heart, and she does mine. And um, you can grow that. Like you can grow that. You can grow that to the point where I can look at my girlfriend across the room, and I can. I mean, it's without. It's not telepathic. It's an energy, right? So essence is a lot of times too. And I often hop around to different things, but with essences, what's important to realize is, sure, you can see and recognize masculine and
Can I
feminine.
stop you for a minute? I want to have a
Yes.
question
Yes.
before we
Sorry.
move on.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Because I'm gonna forget. Um, this is beautiful what you're saying, and what I wanted to ask is, because I've met men who are like not agreeing with David Data's philosophy, and they don't want to hear women, you know, you know, like, spilling all the emotional stuff on them. It's just like, this is abusive. I don't want to hear it every month or every day or whatever that is. And it can be abusive because a lot of times the delivery that a woman has is very unfiltered and not pretty. And it's really hard in the moment not to take it personal. So my question for you, how does, like, what does a man do not to take it personally? Like, how does he grow his energetic capacity to hold that emotionality that she's going to bring onto him?
Practice. It
What kind of
takes
practice?
practice. Um, so it's really triggering. So it's triggers. And so what I recognized in myself was, if you have questions, ask, because I can get really far out on this stuff. So somebody cuts me off in traffic, right? I can hold that into my nervous system, not take it personal, and just be with the fact that that person's in a hurry and they cut me off. Or I can take it personal and give them the bird, right? Or escalate into a road ragey situation. So if a man is not able to hold um, that emotional tension or the nagginess from his woman, if his nervous system can't handle it and he takes it personal or he acts out because of it, it's not just showing up in his relationship, it's showing up in other parts of his life. Where else is he being triggered? So he can use those other parts of his life and just like stop for a second, breathe into his core, like down the center, and just like hold it and don't be triggered by it. So there's
It's
so
easier
much more
said than
here.
done.
It is, but that's why it's practice. So you start out small. And what I would recommend, what helps me most, is I have a
Yeah.
circle of men that I join every Tuesday night,
Yes.
and I lead this team. But
Yes.
so the masculine grows in solitude
Yeah.
or with other men.
Nice.
So this circle that I'm a part of, we hold each other accountable. We are friends, but it's not about friendship in this circle. It's about being the man we've always wanted to be. And what does that
Mm.
look like? And
Mm-hmm.
and so we emote, we get that shit out
Mm.
in that
Mm-hmm.
circle. And the men, we all recognize it, hold the space, and we never deliver advice. We deliver through experience. And
Yeah.
so the masculine will grow just by being in that circle.
Oh,
I'm
I just
veering
had goosebumps all over my body.
I'm veering away a little bit here, but it all correlates because he has to be strong. He has to do the work on himself so that he's not triggered by his childhood wounding. And generally, we manifest people to our path, romantic relationships specifically, as a way to
Mhm.
heal ourselves from childhood wounding. That it's Harville Hendrix wrote an incredible book on that.
Yeah.
And so until a man does the work to recognize what his childhood wounding is, not get rid of it, because those are ultimately his gifts. Like that childhood wounding is who he is at his core. A lot of people are like, I want to get rid of that. Like, no, 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 no. You need to hold on to those gifts because they'll serve you in your life purpose work.
Mhm.
So if he does the work to recognize what his childhood wounds are, and
Mhm.
instead of those are generally all his triggers. And so if he doesn't react, so the time between his trigger and his reaction, like all this in here is his freedom of choice. And
Yeah.
so if he reacts in a way that, let me finish this real quick because it's really important. If he
Yeah.
reacts in a way that is outward validating or
Yeah.
seeking approval or being an asshole, then it's his inner boy, it's his inner child. And so if he
Yeah.
can stop for a second and let the man that he is today recognize what's going on. I mean, your inner child, the inner boy, is a living, breathing boy. He's not made up. Like this, he exists. And
Yeah.
so if that man that he is today can stop for a second and he can take in the influence from the trigger or from the boy within, and
Yeah.
not give him everything, but maybe give him half of what he's looking for, then he becomes a a realized man. Like he's integrated his childhood wounding, making decisions from the man he is today,
Yeah.
and being more powerful. So that is all part of being able to just hold the space for your woman. And then I would always ask, okay, so when I'm in these spaces, and it is much easier said than done. Let me tell you, like we tend to manifest, I tend to manifest women to my path that it keeps stepping up. Like how much how much how much feminine essence can I deal with my own? Can I shepherd my own feminine essence? And I have that ability. So women will sense he has a nervous system to hold his own feminine. So I'm going to give him the space to hold mine as well.
Yeah.
Um,
So, in other words, what you were describing is in order for a man to hold this much that the woman brings to him, he needs to have really integrated relationship with his own emotional world,
Absolutely.
which equals the feminine essence in him, his
Absolutely.
feminine piece of himself.
Yep.
And on top of everything, what I'm hearing you saying is that's really important for a man to recognize his childhood wounding and relate to his little boy and babysit his little boy if he didn't get enough attention. um
As if it was a 3-year-old child or whatever age he meets
exactly.
his inner,
Yeah.
that child will grow too. It doesn't say 3 forever. Like it grows the more he takes care of it.
Yeah, and another piece you said there is like a period of time, kind of like the space in between the reaction and the choice that he makes. So how does the man um like have more of that space?
So I was taught this in my coaching education at Coactive Coaching. We had different parts of our personality and parts of ourselves that we pulled out during our coaching training. And one of the favorite parts of myself that I use for this part of the work is my observer. It's that part of us that kind of sits back and is just kind of, let me
How
think
do you
about that
arrive to the observer? Through
very
what?
easily.
What method?
So I just stop. I recognize that there's a trigger, like I'm getting ready to lash out, right? And
Yeah.
so instead of lashing out, there's like this little alarm that's like, oh, hold on a second, let's hold on. What's going on here? Where is
Yeah.
this coming from? And then you could start out really like, where do I feel this in my body? If it had a color, what color would it be? Like
Yeah.
all these things that just gets you to start pulling in that observer part of yourself to be, and to really introspect and see what it is that's triggering you and causing you the problem. You know, that's why we
Yeah.
have counselors and psychiatrists, because those people are really good at doing that for us, but sometimes we don't have the money for
These
those people.
people are also good. It's good to go to ask for help. But what I have been really inviting my man in my coaching practice, meditate, 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 meditate. Like, this is how you're going to create that space. This is how you're going to be in the moment, because your body is so trained already in those formal meditations that you sit for hours to react or not react in the moment, and also feel for those sensations you're speaking about. Okay, breathe, feel for your feet, feel for your pelvis, feel your heart. Like, this is because in the moment, if a person doesn't have the awareness developed, stretched, expanded, it's hard. It's really hard. Like, you're immediately gonna lash out. You're immediately gonna become defensive. You're immediately gonna like fight, or the opposite, collapse. So
Right.
recommendation for all men in the group: pick up meditation, whatever that is.
Well, so
Right.
meditation isn't my strong suit. So
Okay.
I tried doing meditation for a long time, and I have so many puppies in my head that are trying to like jump out of a box. Like it's
Mm.
really difficult to center that side, that like trying to, get really peaceful. So what I what I started to do was look at the um, meditation practices that you can get on John Weiland's site. And then, so I
Uh-huh.
got some things there, and then um, Justin Patrick Pierce as well. So everything that I do as far as meditation is grounding. I try to get out of my
Mm.
head and into my body, just feel
Yeah.
everything and
Yeah.
ground myself into the earth and be very stable and secure in my core,
That's
so
exactly what I'm
that,
talking about.
yeah, so that I'm not
that's,
knocked off my center very easily. And
that's what I'm talking about.
that's a piece too that would definitely help for
Yeah.
holding that
Yeah.
space.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. What about uh like women? Do you think women also, I mean, all humans need to do their childhood wounding work, but
Oh, absolutely. Well, look, masculine and feminine, we all have masculine and feminine essence within us, which is what makes us a whole person. So, um, it's women have life purposes just like men do.
mhm.
Men want to sing and dance and express themselves through art and music, and that's a very feminine thing to do, and there's nothing wrong with that. So it's we all have both in us, and this
Yeah,
the
yeah.
sexual essence is really what our heart identifies with most. And
Yeah, so I just wanted to add to that. Absolutely. There's always both people, both humans, the feminine and the masculine essences, humans both need to do their inner work, because um as a woman, if you don't, as a woman, like for example, this is my case. I speak from my own experience. I wasn't trained to be emotional. Like, what I mean by that, I wasn't trained. I was told by my parents, don't cry, like never express your emotions, be strong, never show your emotions to man. They will hate you for that. Never do that. And then I kind of like express that. It took me a while to really express my anger or my sadness or my frustration, because I was like, this is not what I was trained to do. It was unsafe. And so if we women do not express our emotionality to men, we don't do service to them either.
so I would totally
Because,
agree.
yeah, because they will hurt us unconsciously, obviously. And if we don't tell them, you hurt me, he will continue doing that because he doesn't know. And so always and always express yourself as a feminine and feel safe to express as a feminine. That is something that I'm speaking to the group, to the men's group here, but notice how your women, how your partners, how your girlfriends are acting. And another piece about that, expressing, lashing out and being abusive, that's another piece that might need to be looked at. And maybe over there in that emotionality that she's throwing out at you, there is childhood wounding hidden, and maybe that is something to talk with her about and bring it up onto the surface. And I think for both people, it's important to be aware of these triggers and talk about them in the space where trigger has not happened yet, like where this outburst has not
Or if
happened
it
yet.
has happened, once that storm has passed, then then talk about, so this goes with the man can create the structure of, of trying to be better with one another during those turbulent times. So I for me, this brings up about a confusion that men have with being vulnerable or expressing their feminine essence to their women. And this is why I believe it's so important for a man to have his men, because it doesn't, by being vulnerable with a woman or emotional with a woman doesn't mean that you get to bitch and complain to her. It doesn't mean that you can be pessimistically oriented with your energy to her and complaining about all these things, because the consequence to that is it will neutralize the sexual polarity between both of you. And so what I would recommend and what works for me is, and some of my clients, is create the structure. If you're going to be vulnerable and you are going to be pessimistically oriented, stop for a second, create the structure and say, hey babe, I'm not feeling really at my best right now. I'm a little pissed off. Will you hold the space for me right now and just allow me to kind of get this out and talk about it?
Yeah.
And that creates the structure for it. And she will be like, well, and of course she loves him. So she's going to be like, well, absolutely. And she's going to get this unconscious feeling like an acceptance, like this man trusts me with this information. And so she can set into that space and he can let it out. And then when it's done, close that space back up and say, wow, that was really helpful. You mean so much to me. That did the trick. I love you. Thank you for giving me that space to do that. And it's gone. And that way there's no neutralizing of the sexual polarity, and it actually deepens the connection between the couple, in my experience.
Yeah, ideally the space in the relationship, the space holding needs to be created in a certain talked beforehand structure, like certain system that needs to be created. If there is no therapist to talk it through or coach to work it through for either people. And
well, and I would also say that that's why it's important that she has her women as well. Like if he has his men and she has her women, those are other places that they can get that out. They can burn off that energy, and then that way it keeps the space, where it may keep the space fresh and just being able to enjoy one another's energy and not emote or regurgitate onto your partner in a way that neutralizes the polarity and causes interference or dissonance.
So you are amplifying the importance of women's circle and men's circle,
Absolutely.
and both go and vent if they need to in the space of their, feminine, masculine circles. And that actually enhances the feminine energy and enhances the masculine energy,
Absolutely.
um, like charges both poles. And then they come back together and they just like, there are
Yeah.
polarity, there's tension there.
In my
Yeah.
second book, it's all about sexual polarity, and I list 24 ways that a man can magnify and amplify his masculine essence, and
Let's
also a
go into
woman.
them. I want
Well,
practical points.
so number one would be in relationship with other men if you want to amplify your masculinity.
Mhm.
I'm going to start in masculine just because
Yeah,
that's what I know, and so the things that I do. Um, be in competition, right? So the feminine prefers relationship, the masculine prefers competition. Like we as masculine, we like
mhm.
it on our edge, and the way we are on our edge is by competing with one another. Um, it's not often about winning. It's ultimately really just about competing to see how good we truly are in competition. Like what is our best, and the only way we can measure that is by going up against one another. For me, that's tennis. Like I really like the exercise of tennis. When I'm paying attention to my health, it's giving me um, a more healthier body, which it's cleaning out the veins of cholesterol and all that stuff, right? So
Yeah,
that's also going to show up in the bedroom, like the ability to
for
have a
sure.
libido and build testosterone. um, so other ways would be to like, let's see, this is kind of funny, but no manners, right? So get a plate full of spaghetti and meatballs and eat it without silverware. Like that really, like I guarantee it that if a man tries it, like you're
I,
laughing, right? So
I've been doing
there's
it myself lately and I love it.
so it's just it's I'm going in after it, right? Work on life purpose. So if you discover life purpose, like the deepest desire of the masculine is to discover purpose. Like that's how that's why we're constantly looking for solutions, or we're looking for problems so that we can offer solutions. That's part of our nature. So work on life purpose. um,
Mhm.
be very directional. Take a self-defense class. Like
Mhm.
that really will get that masculine vibe up. So if a man has confidence that he can protect himself, a woman will feel that. Like if he's just and he will naturally stand up straighter. Um,
Mhm.
and just be there's a bandwidth of confidence that comes from taking classes in self-defense and jujitsu, karate,
Mhm.
and Krav Maga is a good one. um, Take risks, just take risk. They can start out small and then go bigger, like
Yeah.
breaking through barriers, like find barriers to break through. That's a very masculine virtue. um,
Yeah.
Set up a goal or plan a vacation. um, if you really want to get if a man really wants to get his woman into her feminine essence, he could plan the whole vacation that she's always wanted, and all she has to do is pack her bags. And you know,
Yes.
um, let's see. I mean, I've got
So life purpose, hang
yes,
out with more dudes, form men's circles, or find men's
yes,
circles.
yes,
Eat with your hands, like a
yes,
like a like a primal man.
yes.
Um,
Go on a vision quest.
Go to Vision Quest. Compete, do sports, some competitive sports, which is also good for like strengthening the body. What else did you say? What are the other things?
Um, I don't remember, but
Oh, plan a
if it,
vacation, create some kind
yeah,
of like
plan
structure.
something, get from
Yeah,
point A to point B very quickly. Um,
nice.
trade punches with another man. Like that will build up. I mean, just me being on a call for 2 hours with a circle of men that I trust
Mm-hmm.
and watch them do their work
Mm-hmm.
and get their shit done, like it puffs my chest out. Like it just does. Don't Okay, so change your language. A man can change his language. Don't use the word try. Figure out other words. Don't say try. Instead of saying sharing, say deliver. Like these are things
Mm-hmm.
that really don't ever use the word guys, ever, fucking
Mm-hmm.
ever use that word. Unless you're talking about a group of men and women, then you can say guys. But if you're referring to a man or men, say man and say men. A
Mm-hmm.
man can experiment with that. Like if he's in his work and he walks in and it's a room full of men, walk in and say, "How are you men doing today?" It
Mm-hmm.
like the men in the room will be like, and they'll just puff up because it's very rarely seldom heard. So that will
Nice. I
naturally
like
bring
that.
that core of masculinity up. And
Yeah, very good one.
so and I would say too, like if there's ever a woman listening to this, she could use this information to also liberate her masculine essence.
Mm-hmm. Well, I started eating food with my hands, not to liberate my masculine, but just to eat sensually. Oh, I love it. And what would you recommend, or what are your take on how for those men who are in their masculine but need a little bit more
Wow, this is my favorite subject. This is really my
feminine
favorite
essence?
subject. So I could we may go over with this because look, women did the work of liberating their masculine arguably the 20s or 30s when that work started. So they now have the ability to earn a job, have a bank account, do all those things because they have a very well liberated sense of masculine. And I would
Mm-hmm.
argue that they have such a well liberated masculine that that's why they're eternally single right now, is because they're leading with their liberated sense or their reciprocal essence, which is why
Yeah.
most of us are single at this point, because we're not leading with our core. Men have
Mm-hmm.
just recently got the permission, not just societally, is that a word? Like from society, but also personally. So generally for the last couple of decades, anytime a man would try to liberate his feminine essence, his sexuality would be attacked. And then it would push him back into a pseudo masculine essence or masculinity. So what I think has happened is in the last 30 years, most of our healthy masculine role models have been taken away from us for whatever reason, for desertion, or maybe we were born in a family where the man just didn't understand what it meant to be masculine. And then we could also argue that it's through the equality movement and identity politics where
Mm-hmm.
things are just really neutral. So men in the last 30 years have liberated their feminine essence by way of growing up with feminine role models or
Mm-hmm.
society telling them that their sexuality and their masculine virtues are wrong.
Yeah.
So now the goal that the universe has, in my opinion, is that we are going to end up a society of whole people. We have a very well established core of our natural essence and a very well established liberated reciprocal essence. So we're whole people. And that gives us an amazing ability to co-create a wonderful life with one another, where we can both trade different parts of ourselves to achieve the ultimate life that we've always wanted to live. And so but men can liberate their feminine essence by um, playing a musical instrument, dancing,
Mm-hmm.
um, feel like reconnecting with nature is a really good one. Like,
Yeah.
when a man has other avenues and other sources of feminine essence, he's less likely to use the presence of female energy in his life to experience himself or validate himself as a man and as a way to experience his masculinity. So if he knows that he can go into nature for a couple of days, reconnect with nature and walk through streams and just take
Mm-hmm.
in the beauty of the feminine that is everything, right? Then he's less outcome dependent with females. I mean, Look, we as young kids, as young boys, we were always taught to use female energy as a way to experience our masculinity and validate ourselves as men. And it started like this: like we would go hang out at or at least in my experience, I would go to a family reunion, and the men and the other boys were like, "Do you have a girlfriend?" I'm like, "Holy shit, what's a girlfriend? What do you mean?" I'm like 5 years old. I don't have a girlfriend. What do I need a girlfriend for? Well, you should really get a girlfriend. So then go out and get a girlfriend. Next reunion, you come back. They're like, "Do you have a girlfriend?" I'm like, "Yeah, I got a girlfriend." "Well, have you got to first base with her?" You're like, "What the hell is first base? Like, I play baseball. Like, like, what are you talking about?" And so they'll explain the bases and all that shit. And he's like, "All right, so I'm going to go out, and now I'm going to be goal driven and try to get somewhere." Next family reunion or time he gets with his men friends or whatever, his boyfriends, he comes back and they're like, "So you have a girlfriend? How far did you get?" And he'll say how far he got. And then he'll say, "Well, how many girls are you seeing right now?" So it just keeps escalating. And so as young boys, it's kind of bred into us of how we
Ah,
use the presence of
wow.
female energy to validate ourselves as men and as a way to experience our masculinity. See, a man's got to break that.
Oh my God, yes. Wow. Yes. Well, these are all really powerful and valuable information. Um, what I wanted to add to this, um, meditation is another piece that could help men to connect to their
Absolutely.
to their
Masculine.
vulnerability,
Oh, my
also
apologies.
to their vulnerability and their emotionality, and heal whatever that needs to like be healed around emotions. Because what I also explain and teach my coaching clients is your sexuality will be blocked and will not be integrated in any way if you can let your emotions flow through you. And whatever that is, frustration, anger, sadness, all of it needs to come out in order for the energy to flow freely and your, sexuality to be not impeded by any of that. So that's another piece I wanted to add to that.
I see.
Yeah. And so for women, for those men who are listening here and who are with women, their partners, their wives, and they notice not so much attraction happening, well, that is probably the sexual polarity is off. And in order to restore it back, invite and encourage your woman to do something that is natural for her. But how you do that is usually not just like, okay, go and hang out with your girlfriends or just like go to, shopping. Here's like a credit card for you. No, the way you do that, you take on whatever the things that she's been burdened by in the household, whatever masculine things, and you just do them, saying to her in the embodied way, "I got this, honey. I take care of this. I am the man in this. Like, I got this." And she's like, "Okay, I can trust this guy. Okay, well, let me go and figure out my gardening thing, my shopping, my, time with the girlfriends." And that is how naturally a woman will fall back into her feminine. And she will come back. A man is like feeling like a hero because he took on all these things, provided this structure. And that when the tension gonna start to be noticeable again.
Yeah, I'm hearing that responsible leadership part coming in here, like taking
Yeah.
on something, right? And then holy shit, like chivalry's not dead. Like chivalry goes such a long way. Like it sexual polarity, it stacks. It just
Yeah.
stacks on each other. So if you're walking on a street, take the outside by the traffic and let her
Yeah.
take the inside. That she'll feel protected. That causes sexual polarity. It's not a conscious thing like I'm going to do this because it's going to cause sexual polarity. It just naturally it builds. It builds.
Yeah.
So anytime that a man has a potential or the ability or opportunity to be chivalrous, he absolutely should, because that'll naturally bring the polarity back. And if the
Agree.
woman has a problem with it, create the structure of saying, look, like, I want to try this out. I know you're more than capable of doing this yourself. Shit, you do everything already anyway. But in from the space of, I want us to be closer. I want to deepen our connection. Let's just experiment with this chivalry thing for a little bit and see where it
I like
goes.
it. Yeah, I like it. I like how you're suggesting, like, not like listen to her needs and desires, but also like have your own way of connecting with her. Like have your own integrity, your own style, your
Yeah.
own, like not be led by her, hear her, respect her, um, acknowledge. It's like, well, this is what I suggest. What do you think about that? Like kind of like in a nice way, impose your own values, your own structure, your own system, interest
Yeah.
her. I am actually, well, I am very opinionated woman and can poke a man right away in so many ways. And if he like grows in his stamina, in his physicality, by suggesting certain things, I'm like, okay, that's interesting. Sure, I can fall back and soften.
Well, I would encourage the men to try it.
Yeah.
Like, just try something. Trust yourself, trust your gut, and go with it, and give yourself the space to make mistakes, and uh, and have a conversation. Create that structure, and what he wants. It's not just about her; it's also about him too. And if he can align himself with his intentions and his integrity, and trust himself,
Mhm.
he will too.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautifully said. Anything else you would like to add?
Well, we really didn't
Oh,
talk too much on sexual polarity. We're coming up on an hour, but maybe
what
we
are the
can
main points of sexual polarity? Main. What would?
step into your mask. If as a man needs to step into his masculine core, he needs
Yeah.
to not be afraid to deliver his sexuality. That those things are actually valued by women, and that's ultimately, if for a man that's dating, like,
Mm-hmm.
you're here because you want something from her that you can't get from your friends, right? Like, so
Yeah.
sure, friendship is probably going to be a product of the relationship, but ultimately get connected with why you want to be and share space with her anyway, or to begin with, which is physical intimacy, and reconnecting with our natural, like, a man reconnecting with his natural core and his natural
Mm-hmm.
heart of that masculine value. Don't, look, when you're going on your first date, like, talk about life purpose and stuff, but really get connected to your sexuality, and create a spectrum. Like, okay, I'm not just going to put myself out there and be like, oh my God, I want to get you in my car and da 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 da, right. But I'm also not going to be over here and be like, I'm just going to be so polite and just be the nice guy. Like, there's somewhere in the spectrum of all that. Like,
Yeah.
you're not a rapist. Like, don't be afraid of your sexuality. She
Yeah.
actually wants that part of you, and that's why she's there too, because she wants that part of you that she can't get from
Mm.
herself or from her friends. So get in touch with the sexuality, and recognize that that's part of the value. And when a man can amplify his masculine essence, essences are energies that we experience. We don't see them or talk about them. We feel them. Like, if somebody
Mm-hmm.
walks into the room, if a beautiful woman, doesn't matter the frame of her body or anything. But if
Yeah.
she walks in very surrendered and flowy and just expressing the shine, like sharing the shine of her heart with everybody in the room, men will line up for that. And the same is true for a man. If a man walks in the room and takes the room and enters it, stood up straight and aligned with his intentions and integrity, and if he sees a woman that he finds attractive, just fucking walk up to her and say hello. Like, just say, oh my gosh, creepy or not, I find you so attractive. I just had to come up and say
Oh,
hi.
yeah.
And let it go where it goes. Like, trust the universe is going to deliver you the best opportunity in the moment. If she's
Mhm.
going to reject you, who gives a shit? Like, she just probably saved you 3 years in divorce court and 2 kids that you can't take care of. Like, allow her to be like, fuck you, get away from me. I can't stand you. And just be like, thank you, sweetheart. I appreciate that. We're not going to be in divorce court and I don't have to worry about all that alimony. Like, that's great. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
trust that the universe will deliver that. I could go on and on. One more thing. Life purpose discovery is a lot like, very similar to, if not the same thing as, your person discovery. Like,
Mm.
take those failures on and allow them to serve you, and be like, okay, well, I thought I wanted this, but apparently I don't. So sometimes we have to experience what we don't want in order to achieve and claim what we do. So I'll
Mhm.
stop there. I could go on and on and on and on. So it's
No, that
8:02.
was so good what you said. Like, just like develop this, train this natural confidence without being attached to the results. Like, coming up to a woman and asking her for her number. And if she says, like, ooh, creep, go away from me. Aw, get over it.
It's her loss,
Like,
right? Like, it's her
yeah,
loss.
exactly. Like, and just keep trying and doing, and like, and if you receive no, 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 keep doing still. Like,
Yeah.
you eventually will receive a yes, but do not pre-calculate in your mind what's gonna happen. Because a lot of times, what I've experienced also as a woman, a guy sees me and he comes and talks to me, and there's so much nervousness and anxiety in his behavior that I'm like, dude, I just can't. I just like, no.
If he owns his sexuality, if he owns that the universe is going to give him what he needs, that tends to fall away. And the the feminine, it like, if a woman is truly in her feminine, she's going to surrender. And so if she trusts you, her nervous system is built in a way that will automatically, for the most part, be able to deliver to her, whether this is a good man or somebody you want to share time with or not. So um,
Yeah.
he's got to trust that. There was something else I wanted to say, but it escapes me now, and it was pretty powerful in regards to this work. Um, I guess it had to do with vision quests and the old
Oh,
tradition of the vision quests. Like, there's such a loss for boys not getting that rites of passage into manhood,
yeah.
because without that, we don't get to metaphorically kill. This probably sounds crazy, kill our parents. And I said metaphorically. So we
Yeah.
don't obviously do that, but through that rites of passage, the boys were taken from their mothers kicking and screaming. And so were the women. The women were kicking and screaming as well. So,
Mhm.
but the boy is taken away into this rites of passage. He no longer recognizes his father because he doesn't trust his father anymore. His father is there for the sole purpose to shape him into the man that he was born to be. And so
Mhm.
he's not going to be like, come here, son, let me hold you. He's going to be like, the boy's not going to recognize his father at the same time. And so he's going to have to go through this trial and tribulation of however long. And ultimately, it's the death of his parents. It's the death of him as a boy and him rebirthing into a man. And so my point I'm getting to is, if we still had that as a community where boys got the ability to have a rites of passage, I think it's my belief that the power that the energy of the rejection of a woman has, and the scorn, the energy from rejection, that loses its power because a man is not really concerned about those things. He's like, subconsciously, I survived on my own. I had to kill, like, it was, 4 days of downpouring rain. I almost drowned. I had a tiger attack me. Like, the last thing he's going to do is be afraid to walk up to a girl in a bar and go, will you go out with me? Like, so that's only part of it, but that's part of what we lose as men by getting that rites of passage from boy to man, from our fathers and grandfathers.
Yeah.
And that's all
Beautiful.
tied up in life purpose, vision quest stuff. So I'll shut up now.
Wow, that was beautiful. Thank you, TJ.
You're
so
welcome.
much awesome information. Hi, David. I'm just looking at people who are on. We do not have any questions.
Okay, that's good.
Well, I suspect that people will watch this later. And so if anyone has any questions, either for myself or for TJ, please, please, please post them in the comments. We're going to be looking through it and answering them. So thank you, TJ.
You're welcome.
TJ is the coach, as he mentioned. And if anyone is resonating with what he had to share, I believe you can find him either in this group, or you can just message him and connect with him.
Get into my DM. I'll answer all your questions, right? And then you can find me on my website, tjdunhoff.com. And I just transferred that domain over, so it's a brand new website. And I am working on getting a sexual essence discovery questionnaire up so that people can discover their sexual essence. And
awesome.
So yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. TJ. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Of course. And if anybody is curious about my one-on-one coaching, please reach out. I am always available. Happy to help and support and inspire. And for the rest of the members of the group, if anybody is curious to have this Facebook Live with me, either on the receiving end, meaning I will ask you questions about, certain things that you are curious about, or, the other way around, you will share and you will ask me questions, about masculine, feminine, sexuality, intimacy, relationship, whatever that is. So thank you all. Thank you, TJ.
You're welcome.
Having you over.
It was good.
All right. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.